Well, hey there team, welcome back to the channel and welcome to Terra Invicta. That is the game that we are revisiting today. We've had overviews in the past and I really love it. It inhabits an interesting niche, this subgenre I can only think of to call the XCOM likes, where the trappings are the planet is being invaded, that is Earth, and you are essentially the response. And you have to tech up from modern tech, which would be the equivalent of Stone Age, and just deal with these future advanced aggressors, right? Now, what we're usually used to is XCOMs, Xenonauts, where maybe you're this sort of organization. Phoenix Point's another great one as well. This takes a little bit of a different approach, where you represent a sort of shadowy puppet organization in the background. You're not necessarily tied to a particular location or a faction or anything like that. Well, other than your faction, but I should say like a nationality, right? It's not like you're playing as the United States or anything like that. And you assemble a whole sort of little squad, a little posse of counselors to go around and pull their strings in the background. This game is extremely complex and slow burn as well. Like, it's about as slow burn a game you're ever going to play, and it's fantastic, but some might not love it. I thought I'd just jump in. I've been playing this level all afternoon, and I've been busily taking over South Africa, and I've managed to create a bloody space program with them. I've managed to build this facility here in Johannesburg, where I'm launching rockets from, which I tell you what, that was a big task. Being able to get into space and launch rockets under your own sort of power, very difficult, and it's kind of an important jump through, especially if you're not in control of someone like the United States. Anyway, I just thought I'd sort of jump on there, and I'm building my little station. Where is it? Oh, you can go all the way out into orbit into the solar system. So this is hours and hours in, and it's still very early. So I can find my station. Before what I will do is just re-roll a new game. Here it is, being constructed, my tiny little platform, and then you can build extra modules on it, and this sort of opens out. I don't want to even say mid-game. This is still kind of early game in a long-form game, where you start building all sorts of crazy stuff on your space stations. Now that you're outside of the sort of stringent jurisdictions of Earth and all the sort of intercontinental issues, you know, there's wars, all that sort of stuff going on. But now that you're out in the bloody no man's land, you can start building all sorts of crap, start building battleships to go to war with the aliens. It's very cool stuff. Anyway, what we'll do is we will start a new game, and I will sort of just show you how it rolls out from the very beginning. So it deals with some non-tangible concepts of like influence and control. Are a lot of the foundations of what makes this game tick. We'll just go new game. You can pick from all these different factions. However, Resistance is kind of the one you can tell that the game is built in mind of. Protects humanity by resisting the alien invasion. But these are all essentially what you would, you know, if you were to have a bit of a think tank, a thought experiment, these are the sort of different human factions that you would imagine would spring up from an alien incursion, right? You can see support the aliens by any means necessary. May first eradicate them as well, so like a very radical humanist position. The Protectorate, protect humanity by appeasing aliens. So there's this sliding scale of how you're going to interact with them. And the thing is, you don't really know what their intentions are. And that's the magic of these sort of games when you go into them kind of fresh. Like, I don't want to spoil what I know, but like, are they coming in peace? Are they coming to eradicate? Are they coming just to experiment? And that is part of the tech tree when you interact with them, trying to figure out what the fuck they actually want, because that's what you would be doing in this situation. So there's this very much exploring the unknown of what another sentient species' intention is against yours. Anyway, you got a few changes here, but for the most part, you just go balls out, right? So we'll just go with the Resistance. We'll start. Look at this, the ships that you can build, the blueprinting and diagrams and all that for ships is insane, but that's still a while away. But when you get even up to that point, you're getting into sort of RTS territory, you know, it starts to turn into a Sins of the Solar Empire sort of thing. But again, hours and hours in. And the reason I mention that is some people will froth that, some people will absolutely lose their mind Others, it will be a hard pass, right? They'd rather play, I was going to be cheeky, rather play Candy Crush or something, right? I'm not trying to be a fart sniffy supremacist about gaming, but this is about as hardcore slow burn as it possibly comes. I mean, I guess if you're into even things like Paradox, your Hearts of Iron and all that sort of stuff, you'd probably be more at home. Funnily enough, I don't really like Hearts of Iron. I'll have to go back and see if I've changed my mind on it. I don't recall loving it, but I love this. So that might not be even the best example, whether you like it or not. The actual, what you interact with in this game is fairly small scale.
We remember the day the stars answered. The day we learned we were not alone.
Yep, so we've got a bit of a fluff intro.
The sun rose on an unfamiliar universe. Some of us saw wondrous possibility, and others existential danger. The astronomers had insisted that the bright streak in the sky was no natural phenomenon. Most of us didn't really believe them until it burned through our atmosphere and crashed in a remote region, leaving only wreckage and uncertainty. In our ignorance, we fractured, taking refuge in our most primal emotions. Each of us saw what we wanted to see. Everyone loves heroes, depends on them, to save us from evil, lead us through darkness. Problem is, real heroes are always ignored.
Yeah, righto.
What no one understands is that being shot at is easy.
All right, it's getting a little bit preachy there for my bloody cup of tea. Anyway, but the initiator is that like a ship has crashed, and where'd it come from? Is it big or small? What would you do? What would be the first actions? And the first thing is to do your best to investigate the actual crash site, right?
Greetings,
crash
Commander.
site. We got a bit of fluff here.
I am pleased to report the council has appointed you leader of our organization.
Shh, please
I
quiet.
am Fiona Iowade.
I don't care, Fiona. You can go away. So yeah, look, it's basically saying have a counsellor go conduct an investigate alien activity mission on the crash. A cool little twist here is that you will always get a counsellor from your sort of home region. It reads your computer's, I don't know, some part of your computer, but it knows I'm an Aussie, so it gives me an Aussie bloody flat top over here. So you start with 2 counsellors. You've got this bloke, Pierce Hodges, and he's just random.
At your service.
And so is this bloke, Surya Arun. You can see he's an activist, lucky me.
Where to?
And he's a scientist. They have all sorts of different walks of life that all these people come from. But generally speaking, they're people of influence within their sphere. I suppose we could click up here and you could go recruit. And you can see here, you've got professors, journalists, inspectors, operatives, commandos, right? Officer, politician. So you're sort of starting to get it. These people are kind of, so the spearhead of their relative area, and then you're bringing them all together under a common cause to be organized. Again, not super tangible. Anyway, with each character, actually we'll go back to the recruit screen because I think that's a great place of showing it. If you click on someone, you can see here's their stats, because there's a whole RPG component to it. But these are the missions that they're able to do, and by missions it means just things, actions that your dudes can do in a turn, and it's going to be affected by what they are. Like a commando, for example, has a lot of like sabotage, cause unrest, assault alien asset. That's pretty handy to have. So it's cool to have people on your payroll to know what these things are. Investigate alien activity is a must, and I believe you sort of, one of your beginning dudes will have it. You can see it there.
Your orders?
So only one of them. So the first thing you do when you start one of these games is you hit that, target a site of suspected alien activity, learn more, right? And if you hit tab, it will actually send you to that random first crash site, which is in Islamabad.
On the way to the target site.
Off you go.
Ready.
Oh wow, this is a spicy region, is it? There's armies and all sorts of shit going on here. India's armies, Pakistan. Oh my goodness, spicy. And the game takes all sorts of, turns. Different nations go to war. Different organizations can convince them to go to war. I managed to get control of North Korea once and drop nukes. But the thing is, to what end, right? What are you trying to do? They've also tightened up the AI. The other enemy factions fuck with you a lot more than what I remember when it first came out into early access. Anyway, so that guy's busy, and you can see there next to his symbol, he's got a job to do. Surya, we need to figure out what we're going to do with him. Now, one of the smartest things you can do when the game gets going, but there's lots of different ways to go about it, I suppose, is control a nation. So if we hit that, we can actually go to this pull down. He can attempt to control India with his influence. This random activist is going to roll in and just take over India. No, it's probably not going to happen. For all these reasons, these are for him. The size of the national economy is a huge sort of a pushback, right? Taking over one of the huge superpowers can be really tough. I mean, here you go, United States of America, 0%, because you just have this hard modifier against it because of the economy. So if you go at smaller, more intermediate ones, this dude also has a persuasion of 7, which is pretty good, and his actual ability to control a nation will have a level as well. If we click on him, control nation 2, yeah. Which isn't actually that good. 3 or 4, you know, you sort of see more. But anyway, so he's not the hottest nation controller. That's okay, we'll work with it. If you go to this pull down or pull up and roll through it, you can see up here, if we wanted to take over Central African Republic, 95% chance, right? Mozambique, all that. Very cool. Where else could we go? I mean, and that's the thing, you got to sort of think about, what are you trying to achieve? Now, if you go on to what I was doing before, I was trying to generate this thing called Boost. You got Boost Income. And this is essentially your space programs. The ability to boost, if you mouse over it here, is the points that you have, the capacity to move 10 metric tons of material from Earth's surface to low Earth orbit. Once you get up there, you can build like mining vessels and that sort of stuff. You can start building shit in space with stuff up there. I'm using my arms. I've got my hands above my head. But getting to that point that I showed you at the beginning of the video, that's tricky. You have to have a space program to be able to deliver things unscrupulously, you know, beyond the reach of government. So maybe that's something worth thinking about. I don't know. Can I just reset this or something? Nations, that's probably okay. I don't know. Let's go small. Well, I was in South Africa before. Where could we go around here? Afghanistan? Let's take over Afghanistan. All right.
Bringing them on board.
So you've locked in your things. You press confirm, and then you press pause to unpause. Turn that speed up and kind of let it run. Right. Yeah. The only other thing that I could probably do is plug in a technology. Change project. These are just sort of general mark time research. Like, I've got nothing better to do researches. What's the thing in Civ 6? You know how you can just sort of generate income instead of telling a city to do something? That's what this is. It just generates resources, but each time it does it, it increases the cost by 100 research, right? What's interesting, oh God, dare I even do it? That's my own research for my organization. That's my in-house scientists doing our thing for our tech off the grid. This is contribution to the world stage sort of tech, and there's 3 techs running at once. Now, if I were to go, see, it's already picked the starting 3. We are not alone. Skywatch, mission to space, learn how to live and thrive in vacuum, consolidation, advancement of aerospace. But you can see, you can get an idea of what they are, right? If you go to the tech tree, I don't even want to press this button. View, oh my God, my game's cracked it. View full tech tree. There's I can't zoom out. I don't think I can. But it's busy. It just keeps going. It just keeps going. Anyway, let's go view tech tree only or whatever. You can see there's mission to space, the one that's already going. There's Skywatch, and there's We Are Not Alone. So the way that this works is once it gets total research from all contributors, and you don't have to contribute if you don't want to. That's up to you. Then it gets picked to another thing, to a new technology. It doesn't have to be the next one on the tree. It can be anything, and the person who picks is the guy who contributes the most tech. So if I want to grab the reins, I have to research aggressively. And you can basically just balance your funding like that. So I could go like that. You could remove that as well. You have to be funding something, so there will always be one red cube. But it's all about balancing your float, right? So I could just do that to try and push this tech out, and it will tell me how much I've contributed, and it shows you how much the other factions have contributed as well. Give you a bit of an idea of where it's at if you wanted to take over. At the moment, I don't really care. I mean, whatever. This would be the same. You can see there, it's not changing the ratio. That's changing the ratio. But, oh, you know what we could do? That's only 250. Skywatch. Let's go. Let's do that. So yeah, I just thought I'd throw that out there. Having tech organized is always good. If you click here, you've got your sort of general objectives for the campaign. At the moment, it's just investigate the crash site. It's not that complex. General objectives, control Earth's nations. We're already working towards that. And the more nations you have control of, the more resources you will earn towards yourself. But they're also trying to develop their economies, and you can influence all of that as well. Industrialized space, we kind of covered. Build the council. Oh yeah, I suppose we could recruit someone just for the sake of showing off recruiting. Christy Kuhn. Now see, at the moment, honestly, I would rather have someone that can... Fuck, no one can do it. That can control point. Jesus, how hard is it to find someone that can do a control point? Control Nation 2. Who are you? Ara Burnham? You're 60. I can't afford you. Oh, this bloke. Look at this, Mr. Mustache. All right, yeah, we can take him. He's an officer. He's got Control Nation, and he costs 30 influence. So we'll hire him on. I don't think I'm going to be able to give him a mission because I already pressed go. That's a shame. And up here, you've got your general. This is like funding. And it's essentially like money that you skim from organizations, from countries and all that sort of stuff, and then you can spend for yourself. You've got influence, you've got operational capacity as well. So like if you want to go attack an alien craft or something like that, it usually comes out of this budget. Anyway, let's unpause. A lot of explaining, a lot of talking. UN Security Council meets, so you have these Stellaris-esque objectives, splashes or events. It's probably the best way to put it. This is fixed. You can pause and read it yourself, but essentially this gives you a chance to dump your manifesto and make yourself known, or you can sort of skulk in the shadows or somewhere in between. And this can affect the world's reception to the existence of you, or maybe you want to stay more low profile. Let's just say we dump our manifesto, right? We get big influence.
Our only hope is to understand,
and it looks like a couple of the other organizations have done the exact same thing. They've just announced themselves onto the stage because this craft has crashed. It's been announced to the world. What happens next? All these organizations are going to say, right, we're doing this. Join our cause, essentially. One humanity, right? Cool. And so you've got these story beats as you learn more about what's going on. Investigate alien activity complete. Cool, right? We receive a small bonus to our xenology research going forward.
We have found something, Commander.
And we found the actual crash site, and we gained some stuff. Cool. So now we've got a new objective, research alien signatures. If we go to that, well, that's the objective. Do we actually have the research project unlocked? Because it didn't tell me. It probably will in a sec when I unpause it. There it is there, right? So what we're going to do is take on that project, alien signatures, and it's only going to take 25. We study the recovered samples to learn how to detect alien activity, all right? Select that project, and you can see here, see how it says a little plus 15, I got distracted by that. It says a little plus 1% there. So ultimately, because of discovering that crash site, it's given us a general boost to understanding alien tech. So that's why you're incentivized to go intercept crash sites, investigate abductions. You know, so you got a lot of guys out in the field as investigative agents. You're not the CIA or anything like that, but you are, if you would say you're divorced from a faction, is probably the best way to look at it. All right, so critical success, it shows you the stats and all that, but essentially we managed to take control of that nation. So we need to pick who we're going to get on board. Resistance's monthly influences increase. Influences income, research income, ops, money. How about we go influence? We'll go influence, all right? Enemies are planning, cool. So if you check bloody Afghanistan is ours now. It's got this pip against us. If you were to click on a different nation, like Iran has 3 pips. Now the pips are relative to their GDP, I believe. Getting me a bit off balance here. But essentially the larger, it might just be the GDP, I can't remember. I don't know if it's just strictly population, but the larger its GDP, you can see it's 1.3 billion, where Afghanistan's is, oh, right, that's, yeah, 71 billion, 1,000 billion. Jesus Christ, I don't even know how to say that number. But if you increased essentially the scale of it, I think you can add. So you could potentially, what if you really wanted to, and I'm pretty sure I wouldn't say it's viable. I wouldn't even say it's a sensible way to react to aliens, but you could use this opportunity to turn Afghanistan into a superpower if you really wanted, right? In fact, let me show you how. It's probably the best way to understand the mechanics. So generally speaking, these are all the little pips that dictate what's going on in a country, right? Spaceflight program, it doesn't have one. But if you were to click on, I don't know, does Canada have a spaceflight program? No, but they're very close to having one. 30, right? But the US does. As you can see, they don't have the option anymore. They instead have mission control and boost. So there's all this different stuff. Nuclear weapons, I believe if you don't have nuclear capacity, you might not have the nuclear weapon. There you go, you got build navy. Look how big China is. China's out of control. And I believe the navy option only comes after you have a certain amount of armies. So there's a lot of sort of hidden prerequisites. But for the moment, we'll go back to bloody Afghanistan, wherever the fuck that is. What am I doing now?
Where to?
Please let go. Please give me my game back.
Ready for our mission.
Anyway, so what happens is these pips are my control of the excess earning potential of Afghanistan that I have control over. So Afghanistan's going to be earning in the background, according to its GDP, there's an excess system, but essentially it's got its own hidden plan on how it's spending stuff on economy or welfare or funding or whatever, all these different things. But there is an overflow, right? And I get control of the overflow. So I don't get to control Afghanistan whole cloth, but I get to control a little bit. And all it is, just like the research thing, is these tiers of balance. And it gives you a percentage balance. The warnings for military and spoils are because, well, you can mouse over them and it tells you quite a lot. But essentially, we're in a guerrilla war state, which is obvious, right? So you want to have a high military if you can help it. But if you were peaceful and all that, you're not going to get these warnings quite as much. We don't seem to have a lot of economic inequality, which is good. People are polarized, so you got all this stuff. And the funny thing is, you start to understand it after a while. Military level is industrial level. I think most of the world's at nuclear age. Anyway, so like for example, we could probably just get rid of all of that. Spoils is the elites. They demand a certain 20 or 30% of everything. So let's do something like this. And like welfare helps with inequality, which doesn't matter so much here. Economy helps boost your sort of GDP. So what you can do is just start spending your overspend in leveling up the country. So what you ultimately want to do is control lots of different countries. So you can see that's only taken out 4 out of my cap of 131. It's a relative control cap of your organization. And because, no offense, Afghanistan, but in the scheme of things, not that big, not that powerful, not that influential. Whereas if somehow I manage to get control of fucking France or something like that, it's going to take a huge chunk of maintenance out of my thing. So you got to figure out, am I going to take a lot of tiny undeveloped countries, or am I going to go for some big countries, that sort of thing? But it's one step at a time. Anyway, look, so let's go. We could try and control our neighbors, and then you can have them ally as well, that sort of thing. But maybe we just go, oh, actually, let's do, oh, that's kind of cool that you can see the percentages at a glance. What about, what's that? Tajikistan. Is that how you say it? Cool. I'm just confused why it's... Oh, right, it's subdividing it all. I was confused why it was mentioning Kabul. Oh, I must have been moused over the wrong thing. Right, okay, cool.
We will bring this nation to our side.
Let's go, Scarlet. Let's take over the Middle East. Now, the other thing is you can spend that currency to tip the scales if you need to. I don't think we really need to.
To our side.
At 84%.
Standing by.
And this guy's an absolute turnip, right? So he's no good, but we're going to send him into Uzbekistan and we're going to give him a whole bunch of influence. See if we can move the needle a bit. 64, God, don't ever spend your influence like that.
We'll
But
bring this nation to our side.
I've done it there anyway. So off we go, bang. And so that's how this game goes for a while. And then you have to respond to crashed ships. You have to interact with other factions. They're going to, try and coup
Still lack
you.
support.
Oh, wow, he didn't get it.
Our supporters are in place.
He got it. Good work, mate.
We've got our people.
And
in
so did
place.
the turnip. Project Exodus fails a purge mission. They were targeting Afghanistan. They were trying to purge Afghanistan. Right, well, let's sort of just cover that real quickly. I don't know if I've got any guys capable of it. We can do a coup. Coups are quite difficult to do, and they require someone else to hold points. In fact, here you go. This has a 3% chance. So you can see this is already taken over. Kyrgyzstan has been taken over by Project Exodus. So we already have a neighbor trying to take over this area. We could attempt to coup the area, which, even if I turned all my ops up, it's only 10%, which what that would do would flip that point to me. What you can do instead is have, God, what was the other, what is it? It's like an uprise, no, because it's not a coup. You can do something else where you can sort of undermine them, where you can potentially remove their point, but it doesn't go to you. You know, you do like a reset. Yeah. Or that might be what the coup does. I can't remember. I think there was one that flips them. But there's all these multipliers. You can see all the difficulty, the satisfaction of elites, national unrest. So, okay, say I'm really set on taking Kyrgyzstan, but there are reasons why I can't get it, obviously. What you could try and do is I could run public campaigns in Kyrgyzstan, and that's much more likely. And what that will do is move the needle here for public support of my cause. I could also potentially go, have I got anyone that can cause unrest?
Standing by for
This guy
orders.
can do unrest, but looks like he'll struggle to do it. But you can try and increase unrest to destabilize the nation, to take it over. So there's a lot of fidelity to it, or you could just let the bloke have it, right? Chances are he's taken it, he's trying to quell unrest, he's currying public support, and then he's probably doing defensive missions as well to try and catch my dudes. You dudes can be caught, interrogated, killed, all that sort of stuff. Though, at least in the early game, there's not a lot of incentive to do that. It's a lot of energy to start a bit of a war with one of the other organizations when everyone's sort of just scrabbling around trying to snatch up as many little nations as they can in the beginning. Anyway, that's Terra Invicta. That's like 1% of this game. It's fantastic. It's a big investment. Obviously, it's not super combat heavy, at least in the beginning. But, you know, space battles and all that is definitely a big part of it later on. But in the early going, it's very much this, again, this very difficult to make tangible shadow government interplay simulator. It's not going to be for some, but for those who it is for, this is digital crack. And I'm a big fan. But it's a big investment for sure. And, you know, it's got some jank as well. But I don't think that would worry those that are into it. Anyway, I don't want to waffle. It's a bit of a longer video, but it's necessary to sort of cover off on all the bases. Anyway, let me know what you reckon. Did you like this? Do you enjoy this format? The more sort of reporting, informative. I don't want to say it's a review, but it's the closest thing you're going to get to a review from me, where I just break down a game that I think's interesting and explain it to you, and hopefully it's informative. Anyway, feedback would be really helpful. I'm not going to do the like, share, subscribe bullshit, but if you do have feedback around this game, around that sort of format, and if you'd like to see more of that on the channel, that would be very welcome. Anyway, I'll finish up there, team. Thanks again for joining me. Might just leave it there for the time being, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.